Now the French are very good at three things. Firstly, their architecture. French cities are a marvel to look at. Secondly, well, that would be their culinary skills. They are masters in the kitchen. Thirdly, that's definitely the hot hatchback. I don't think any other nation has produced more notable fast hatchbacks than the French. We tried out the Peugeot 208 GTI last year and we really enjoyed it. We thought it was a great package and it really showed that Peugeot haven't lost their way. They can still produce a great hatchback. Today we're in the new Peugeot 208 GTI by Peugeot Sport, and the important bit of that are the last few words, by Peugeot Sport. You see, when the whole financial crisis happened and everyone had to make cutbacks, some of the victims were Peugeot's very successful motorsports teams, so the Le Mans endurance racers and the WRC team, for example. Now, that was a shame, but those very talented men and women had to find new homes within the company. And the road division of Peugeot Sport was a very good substitute. Net result is that we have cars like the Peugeot RCZR, which was their first effort. Go and check out the video of that. Very interesting car and definitely worth a look. Next came the Peugeot 208 GTI 30th anniversary, celebrating 30 years of the GTI under the Peugeot monarch. A very interesting car, mechanically different from the standard GTI, very successful, but it's limited to just 800 units. Now this 208 GTI is again done by Peugeot Sport, and it takes all that was great and good about the 30th anniversary edition and applies it to the standard car. There are key mechanical differences, setup changes, and of course a few styling tweaks to put things in line with the recently facelifted 208. Under the bonnet is a 205 brake horsepower 1.6 litre turbocharged engine that's enough to get this car from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 6.5 seconds. It'll also go on to a top speed of 143 miles per hour. Now, dealing with some of that extra power can be tricky in a front-wheel drive hatchback, but not to worry, because the 30th edition and this car was fitted with a brand new Torsen limited slip differential, which actually does quite a good job of splitting the power between the two front wheels and reducing torque steer. There is still some, but the great pedal weighting in here and the very linear response from the turbocharged engine means that you can feed the power in just nicely out the exit of a corner. Other mechanical changes include lower, firmer suspension, a wider track, stickier Michelin tyres, and extra weighting to the steering, which is actually quite nice. One of my criticisms previously was that the steering felt a bit vague. It's still not super precise, but the extra weight off centre makes it feel really great around a corner. It builds quite nicely. Power is sent to the front wheels via this 6-speed manual transmission. It's not the slickest of shifts, but it's perfectly nice. It's got quite a good positive motion to it. Something else that I always really liked about the 208 GTI is this diddly little steering wheel they give you. That in tandem with a quick rack makes the car feel really nimble. Okay, there have been some complaints because the speedo is positioned above the rim of the steering wheel. If you're the wrong height, it can obscure it. Personally, I'm the right height. I haven't had too many issues with it, but I know other motoring journalists have, so I just thought I would mention that. Whilst we're in here, the interior is really nice. I mean, the 208 has to be one of the chicest B-segment hatchbacks going. And I know the Fiesta ST is a great hot hatchback. I really like it. It's one of my favourites. But I mean, you've got to be looking at something like the Mini Cooper S to really rival the interior in here. It's all sort of very nicely stitched. You've got these great bolstered bucket seats. I believe they're straight out of the Citroën DS3 Racing, which was also road tested. Do check that one out, because that's a bit of a bonkers car, that one. But the seats are really supportive, and the big bolsters do give you a bit of a hint that because of this car's vast quantity of grip, you're going to be going around corners quite quickly. Now, whilst the 208 GTI this year does take a bit of a price jump because of the new equipment on board, DAB radio comes standard along with parking sensors, and that's all accessed via this little touchscreen unit here, which you find on most Peugeot. Moving backwards in the car, the rear bench seats 3. Bit of a squeeze for tall adults, no problem at all for children, about par for the course for this segment really. And the boot is a really great usable size, perfect for slinging your shopping in. And that's a very key remit for a hot hatchback to meet, really, isn't it? It's great that it goes really quick, but the unique aspect of a hot hatch is that it's practical, it's an easy sell to other family members, and also this car, Peugeot claims about 52 mpg. Okay, that's enough of the boring stuff like how the dials light up red or there's a red pinstripe on the seatbelt. You want to know how this car drives, and I am pleased to say, very well. Because it doesn't weigh very much and there's lots of grip on offer, you can throw it into corners at absolutely silly speeds. Its turbocharged engine is very responsive, particularly above 2000 RPM. And the brakes are great. These uprated Brembos in here have real bite to them. And I always say you can only drive a quick car as fast as what it stops, because if you have no faith that it's going to stop, you're not going to drive it very quickly. Whilst we're talking about slowing down, whenever you do approach a corner and you hit the brakes, you feel the weight shift forwards, and that makes the back go all light. And it has this really nice sort of lift-off, oversteer moment, really, where all the weight's forwards, you're off the throttle mid-corner, and the back end just twitches. It just does this little shimmy of the hips, and it helps rotate it round the corner. It's a really nice trait of the car, actually, and something that I'm sure enthusiasts enjoy very much. But I think the 208 offers relatively good value, £22,000 for all of this. Externally, our test car is finished in this two-tone red and black. If that's a little bit garish for you, then there are some solid colour options for the car. It also receives the other facelift tweaks that the rest of the 208 range gets, so altered bumpers. This also gets LED headlights as standard. And it looks fantastic with its little spoiler. Anything I don't like about this new Peugeot 208 GTI? I think maybe it rides a little bit harder than what the previous car did. Obviously the pros are that there's less roll in the corners. Obviously over potholes and things it's a little bit firmer. It's not unbearable, and to be honest I think a lot of it's to do with these larger alloy wheels that it wears. Also, because the interior is really well insulated, which is great on motorway journeys, you don't have to hear the droning of an engine or loads of tyre roar. It means the engine noise is a little bit muffled. From outside it sounds fine, but inside it's maybe just a bit quiet. The new Peugeot 208 GTI by Peugeot Sport is quick, it's nimble, it's good looking, it's practical, it ticks all of those key hot hatchback boxes. Peugeot Sport have indeed done a very good job with this car, and that's something we hope they continue in the 308 GTI, of which we'll be driving next week.